my left-hand side, and two of them are dear friends of mine. I must acknowledge also the presence of Ambassador K. Fabian. We have also Mr. Sanjay Varwa, who is a very dear friend of the FCC. I still remember once we had a meeting with the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, who gave us this place actually, and we applied for a request for meeting with the foreign correspondent, and I was the president that time. But then somebody else took over. But during the meeting, Mr. Barwa told them that it was Dr. Awad who started the initiative. So that was a very good, and I still remember it. Thank you very much. Without further delay, I would ask my colleague to present our friend, Mr. KP Naya, present our distinguished guest for the dais, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Good evening, friends. Mahesh Sachdev was ambassador to Algeria, Nigeria, Norway during his 35 years in the Indian Foreign Service. All three are major oil exporting countries. His diplomatic experience was rounded off with postings in Hong Kong and Brussels. At headquarters, Mr. Sachdev headed the West Asia and North Africa division and one of the Europe divisions in the Ministry of External Affairs. He learned Arabic at Damascus. In Damascus, our President, Dr. Awad's hometown, during his 3-year posting there. Mr. Sachdev is currently president of Eco Diplomacy and Strategies, a New Delhi-based consultancy. Going beyond the standard bio, Mahesh and I, our paths crossed in 1990 after the invasion of Kuwait, Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait. Mahesh and I were in a minority. We did not agree with Saddam Hussein's invasion at all. Not the maybe whole, but a substantial majority of Indians, at least in the public domain, were supporting the invasion on the ground that Saddam Hussein was secular, he was non-aligned, whatnot. So we were in a minority. I was alerted to the invasion at 2 a.m. I was in Bombay. Those days there were no mobile phones. So the hotel phone started ringing, and when I picked up the phone, I was told about the invasion. I had just come back after more than 10 years living in the Gulf region. So I immediately canceled my programs in Bombay and I flew back. By that time, the newspaper I was working for, I don't think Dr. Sanjay Baru had joined the Economic Times at that time. Had you joined already? Okay. So by the time I came back, the first editorial had appeared, broadly supporting Saddam Hussein. I was very disappointed, angry, whatever, because the Gulf was my second home. So I recall that at that meeting, I spoke for 45 minutes, taking the opposite view, that this is an invasion of a small country, unprotected small country. And I have to say, one of the greatest editors I worked for, anywhere in the world, TN Nainan supported me, and we reversed course. So from then on, we were no longer supporting Saddam Hussein. Now I have to say that Mahesh was less successful than me in advancing his view within the government of our then foreign minister, I.K. Gujral, went to Baghdad and hugged Saddam Hussein. And that disreputable photograph was flashed again and again for years and years, discrediting Indian foreign policy. Now, uh, well, this was not the first time that India has been on the wrong side of history. It has happened before, and it will happen again. I don't want to talk about the government of India's position in this conflict, because we have two experts who would rather do that. But I must also add that Mahesh was much more successful soon with the finance ministry, because Manmohan Singh became finance minister. And Manmohan Singh had this idea. He had himself told me subsequently uh, of mending relations with Saudi Arabia. And the finance minister Manmohan Singh identified Mahesh as someone sympathetic to him. And despite a lot of opposition, Manmohan Singh persevered, and he went to Saudi Arabia as finance minister. And subsequently, Dr. Baru will testify, he went to Saudi Arabia as prime minister, and there was a lot of skepticism and opposition. So I have to say, although Mahesh was not successful in one sphere, he was successful in another sphere of the Gulf policy. These are memories from old days. Gadam Dharmendra is India's most recent former ambassador in Iran, crowning his 34 years in the Indian Foreign Service. He went to Tehran at a time when Iran has been at the center of international affairs. Uh, he is a Farsi speaker, having learned the language during his first posting to Iran in 1992. Mr. Dharmendra was India's High Commissioner to Zambia, Dean of the Foreign Service Institute, and head of India's Disarmament Division at headquarters. His other foreign postings have been in Dushanbe, Washington, D.C., and Hong Kong. Here again, please excuse me for introducing a personal note. Ambassador Dharmendra's 3 years in Washington overlapped with my time in Washington, and subsequently he has gone a long way, and he is now, after having been a distinguished diplomat with long service, he has now become a teacher of diplomats. Even today, he is coming here after conducting a day-long capsule course for future diplomats at the Foreign Service Institute in Delhi. He has been the dean of the Foreign Service Institute. So now he is a teacher of diplomats. One small incident, if I may. Mr. Teki is here, who was also with us in Washington. He was there after the nuclear test, and one evening, Mr. Teki and me and some others were in Dharmendra's lovely house in Virginia, in Tyson Square. And there were some diplomats, foreign diplomats, who actually were not only against the nuclear test. I don't want to name the country. One country which expelled our army officers from their National Defense College while a lecture was going on, because India conducted the nuclear test. And together, Mr. Teki and me, we pulverized these diplomats who were there, and took the wind out of their sails. Being diplomat, Dharmendra did not intervene, But after the party was over, he quietly congratulated us for having taken our stand and having said things which he could not have said as a serving diplomats. With these words, I welcome both the ambassadors to our function this evening and hand the floor back to our president.
Thank you, KP, for the wonderful presentation. And without further delay, I will introduce one of the each of the ambassadors to speak 15 minutes each, and then we will open the floor for question and answer. Before we start, I just request everybody to keep the mobile in a silent mode, please. And I may take the stage of trying to direct the discussion from the region of West Asia being inflicted with wars over decades and for reason under pretext of others, nuclears, terrorism. At the end of the day, it is used as a tool to achieve political objectives. The dangerous of this war is nothing to do, of course, nothing to do with the nuclear, because we understand we have the replica of Iraq of 2003 when I was with the American embassy. But the dangerous part at this moment is to mix it with the religion, is a mixture where the misnorms were people using biblical messages and saying that this is a divine war. It will be very difficult for us to negotiate with those not only who see themselves above the international law by inflicting an illegal war, President Trump or Prime Minister Netanyahu, but we are more scared of somebody who's seen himself above the divine God or Almighty. That makes us very dangerous development. I give the mic to Ambassador Mahesh Sajdev to start opening the ceremony. Thank you.
شكرا جزيلا يا سيدي. Distinguished guests on the high table, friends, I think the discussions are on a subject which is quite heavy. So one would like to go to the other extreme and start, as most Arabs would like to, on a lighter note. The story is told of flood in Nile, and during the flood, a frog is crossing the Nile. He notices a scorpion drowning because he didn't know how to swim. And scorpion is asking for help. The frog says, "You think I'm ghabbi or crazy? If I take you on my back and you sting me, we both die." The scorpion gulps air and says, "Come on, would that be logical? If we both die, what do I gain?" So the frog says, "Yes, you seem to be right. Okay, hop on. I'll let you cross with me." So the scorpion climbs onto the back of the frog and they start crossing Nile. Midway, scorpion does what he's not supposed to do. He stings the frog, and frog turns blue and starts to sink. But not before asking the scorpion, "But didn't you say if you stung me, it'll be illogical?" The scorpion smiles and says, "But my friend, you forgot this is Middle East. When do we have anything logical here?" And unfortunately, what's going on is beyond this joke. It's very serious and it's hardly logical. Uh, One would also like to add something, quoting from Henry Kissinger when asked about Iraq Iran war waging on sidelines those days. Henry Kissinger is reportedly quipped, saying, "The real tragedy of this war is that only one side can lose. Both of them should." And I think that maxim applies to this one as well, except there are three sides and not two. Uh, on a serious note, all of us have read about the war in great details, so one would not like to belabor those aspects. Let's talk about something else, its impact on global issues, regional issues, and domestic issues. Who lived in the shadows of his father as his manager of his office and is likely to follow his father's hard line both domestically and on negotiations. But people speculate that he belongs to a different generation. He's only 56. So they expect him to be someone like Mohammed bin Salman, to revamp the 37 years of his father with a moderating influence at home. He has challenges everywhere. Outside, challenges are well known. A war is being waged. Regionally, he has to take a call as to whether deliberate targeting of the GCC states, which are so far non combatant, should continue or not. And thirdly, what to do with eventual end of the war, whether to negotiate or whether to have Masada complex of dying fighting forever. Uh, Coming weeks would probably shed some light on whether he survives long enough. Uh, Israel wants him dead right away. United States president doesn't like him. So all that told seem to have a call made for him to rise to the occasion. The situation couldn't be graver. When it comes to regional issues, I think observers would be looking with bated breath as to if the biggies on the other side of the Gulf, namely Saudi Arabia and UAE, decide to retaliate. So far, they've held their fire, held their hand for multiple reasons. They are conscious of their vulnerabilities, ranging from desalination plants and electricity, oil pipeline, gas fields and oil fields, and dependence on expatriates who have no loyalty to the country. While UAE does have some conscription and is supposed to have a good air force, Saudis, through the Yemen war, have not recruited well. And after 10 years, they've had to sue for peace. So, whether this Strait of Hormuz being closed and direct military stress makes them change their course would be something to look for. If they do, they would stand with Israel and United States, which are not good company, particularly in Ramadan. The Muslims worldwide may look for askance. They also have to figure out whether the end game with Iran is going to be status quo in Tehran. And in that case, they would have created bad blood with those in power in Tehran that may come back to haunt them. Thirdly, they have their own Shia minority. Bahrain is a majority Shia. Saudi Arabia has a Shia pocket in southeast. UAE, Kuwait, and even Qatar have a significant minority of Shia who are sympathetic to Iran. Then South Asia itself, 15% of the Muslim population is estimated to be Shia. So all told, they may not be able to uh, ensure domestic and Islamic world's peace by doing so. So there is a bit of a dilemma that leadership in GCC faces. Um, Lastly, when it comes to domestic situation in Israel, we have elections coming before November this year, and Mr. Netanyahu, who's been prime minister 7 times, his one-point strategy is to create situations that will allow him to wash the sins of October 7, 2023, where he and his government were caught napping by Hamas attack. He also faces corruption charges, which are more uh, not of substantive nature, but nevertheless have public opinion related issues. Then again, this being a proportionate voter election, getting 60 seats in an 120 seat Knesset can take months of uh, putting a coalition together. Right now, he has to rely on ultra orthodox Jewish parties to cobble up a majority, and they have their own demands, which he is able to scum to with regard to West Bank and hardline on Gaza and Jerusalem. So that would may have its own consequences in case Israeli economy, which was expected to grow by 5.1% this year, takes a nosedive with the current war continuing for too long. Uh, United States too faces midterm elections in November to the Congress, and Mr. Trump's war in his second week is already causing him loss of public opinion. On last coin count, he was expected to be favored by 26% of those polled, and a majority of 56%, if I'm right, uh, disapproved of his going to war with Iran. Uh, with more body bags coming back and economic pain due to gas price being over $3 a gallon instead of $2 a gallon he boasted during State of Union message. The cost of living may become a major issue even with the MAGA base of his. So, all told, the situation is fraught with risk, and the end game that one would like to conjure up is anybody's guess, but one would like to believe that eventually the more likely scenario is Mr. Trump to declare victory over some facile ascendance over Iran and go home with contriving with his support base his own having won the war. Uh, the truthful hyperbole, a term that he contrived in his book, The Art of the Deal, would come in handy then. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wahid. Dr. Awad, thank you very much. KP, thank you for your kind words. Ambassador Sachdeva, Ambassador Fabian, and all those present. We are into the second week of this war. I don't think anyone expected the Iranians to last this long. They expected a neat decapitation, a clean strike, the Americans and the Israelis. The Israelis seem to have assured the Americans it will be a quick exit. And little knowing that this is a country which has learned its lessons repeatedly. It fought an 8-year-long war. It's got stamina. It's got attrition power. And it understood well American strategy that you bomb and bomb and bomb and hope things will work out, which has never happened. Because that can only achieve limited military objectives, whereafter you have to put boots on the ground, which I don't think anyone in the US administration has appetite. So on the military side, what we see is the Iranians have stuck it out. This is the second war in less than 8 months. They survived a war in June last year, the so-called 12-day war, when everyone declared ceasefire. That war has not been very well understood because of a clamp on information. While Iran absorbed a lot of Israeli strikes in the first 48, 72 hours, after surviving that barrage, it launched several hundred missiles and drones into Israel, which saturated Israeli air defense systems known as the Iron Dome, the David Sling, and so on and so forth. So the Iranians had already gamed what will be their targets, what will be their counter-strike capabilities. But do keep in mind, both in June last year and in February this year, these attacks happened in the middle of talks. June last year, the Iranians and the Americans had held 5 rounds of talks It was a Friday. A sixth round was scheduled. Abbas Arakchi had declared, as did Steve Witkoff and the American negotiators. And the US decides to strike the three nuclear facilities, Isfahan, Fordo, and Natanz. After which, Trump declared the Iranian nuclear program is obliterated. So we have two actions which came out of June last year. One, the Iranian ability to counterstrike and saturate Israeli systems, which has never happened before. That compelled Donald Trump to declare a ceasefire and say war is over because they could not keep up the demand for anti-defense missiles, interceptors required for manning the Patriots and the THAAD and the Iron Dome. Alongside that, having declared that the Iranian nuclear program is now obliterated, the Iranians somewhere also understood that they have no longer any enrichment capability. The centrifuges were all under rubble. There is no fuel enrichment plant existing anymore in Isfahan. The centrifuges in Natanz were gone. The storage capacity was all because of the massive ordnance deep penetrators, the MB-57, which the Americans used. If you have achieved that objective of denying Iran a nuclear weapon, so everything was quiet till December 29th. Iran was off Trump's radar. Netanyahu gamely kept ratcheting up Iran. He's been doing that for 20, 25 years. After the riots broke out, the social demonstrations in Iran, Trump jumps into the fray and then starts threatening the establishment, saying, you better stop it or there will be consequences. We are locked and loaded. He goaded the American people to continue the demonstrations. And he said, help is on its way. Now he's boxed himself into a corner. There's only one way out. He had to bring in forces, which he did, as we were discussing. Costs $500 million per day to maintain them in their stations. 2 aircraft carriers relocated from other theaters, multiple destroyers, aircraft, 500 odd aircraft, F-22s, whatnot. Diego Garcia, again, the tankers, all of them were ready. On February 28th, they decide to attack again in the middle of talks. 28th was a Saturday. It was a Shabbat. Nobody expected the Israelis would attack. Thursday, the talks concluded in Geneva, whereafter Oman's foreign minister, who was mediating the talks, said these were hugely successful. The Iranians have made unprecedented concessions. If denial of a nuclear weapon is what we wanted, I think that objective has been achieved. We have locked that in. This was Badr al-Busaidi's declaration to CBS News in America, because from Geneva, he went to the US to lobby, convince the Americans we have boxed in the problem of Iran's nuclear weapon. We should now go ahead. February 28th, Saturday morning, 9:15, the Israelis got up. Take a step back. So after that, after the Geneva talks, the decision was they will meet in Vienna on a Monday to nail the technical issues of giving access to the IAEA. Now, that's very important. Iranians have been denying access to the IAEA, whereby nobody had an idea where that 430 kgs of 60% highly enriched uranium is. If IAEA had got access, they would have known whether it is under rubble or it is in storage. Iranians went so far to make the concessions. Saturday morning, they decide whether it was an opportunity they got of assembly of Supreme Leader in one place and his advisors. It's next to the Supreme National Security Council. So 2 buildings were taken out, both were cratered. So we now know what happened after that. The reaction of the Iranians was furious. It was one of controlled fury and aggression, which I don't think we saw ever before, even during the Iran-Iraq war. Now, Iran is not an easy neighbor. It's not an angel. They've created mayhem in the region by sponsoring their axis of resistance, what they call their forward defense strategy, going and funding the Hamas and the Houthis in Yemen, the Ansar Allah, the Lebanese Hezbollah, and of course the Iraq Shia cadres. So they've. I'm not talking on behalf of Iran. I'm just laying out the facts so that we all get an idea what happened, what led to February 28th, and what the aftermath of that, because we are going to see a reorganized global order. It'll start with the West Asia, as Ambassador Sachdeva pointed out. It's already started in Iran. We are seeing the changes which are going to happen. So we are now poised on the cusp of great uncertainty, which will take sweep a lot of economies and therefore a lot of countries and a lot of governments. Any targets India had about 8% growth rate, we'll have to now get sobered up. Our economic forecast, whether it is India, China, Japan, Korea, everyone's scrambling to shore up their economies. So that's one of the consequences which is going to happen. So the reaction of the Iranians has been, what I can see sitting here in India, is fury, and they have decided to torch the region. Remember, in June last year, they confined the conflagration only to Israel. They did not touch any regional country. They abided by those informal understandings. They made up with the Saudis. They had a bit of a problem with the Emiratis, but 8 months. Now, what we are seeing is the messaging from the Iranians is to the Gulf countries, all right, we are going down and you guys are watching with glee. We're going to take you down with us. So this informal agreement they had that they will not touch any of the bases. There was publicly they were saying that, but actually they did not do it. The messaging is you host a base, and this is where again I come back to Ambassador Sachdeva's point. West Asia was across the west of the Hormuz Straits was an ocean of calm, prosperity. High net worth individuals decided to live in Dubai, Jumeirah, all the prosperous regions. Money was coming in, investments were risk free, highly welcomed, highly rated. All that has changed. We are now seeing everybody is vulnerable. The Iranians have rearranged the regional order. You host an American base on your territory, and that base is used to attack us. That is a legitimate target for us. A hotel in Dubai is hosting American soldiers. We'll go and hit that hotel. A combination of very efficient targeting, very efficient choice of weaponry, and deep intelligence. They knew who is where in Qatar. They knew which hotel in Dubai is hosting which who. They knew that. So what they did, first 48 hours, unlike what happened in June last year, they did not hold back. They hit Bahrain's fifth naval headquarters of the United States Navy. You just digest that for a moment. That's a huge strike. That's the base where all US naval vessels replenish, take in fuel, reload their ammo. They can't load ammo on the high seas. If you fire a missile, you have to go back to a port. And then at the port, it's loaded, whether it's a Aegis defense missile or a Tomahawk attack missile. That base is gone. All US vessels are about 500 miles away from the Iranian coast, absolutely fearing what the Iranians can unleash on them. Iranians have gone completely, this is total mayhem. So they have absorbed 8 days of attacks, punishing attacks. You can imagine how many B-2 bombers, what kind of ordnance they have, what an F-22 Raptor can do. I mean, look at the entire array of, but still they've gone and hit Israel. They've repeatedly targeted Israel. Iran has also suffered a lot. The people are suffering because of the whatever errors of omission and commission by the regime. In this, we have to understand the significance of one incident, which is the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on the morning of 28th February. That has caused huge damage. And I think that is also a factor in the GCC taking a slightly back step, absorbing the attacks from Iran. So that is the military dimension. Politically, Iran has not crumbled. The regime has moved very quickly because they've prepared. They've prepared that the supreme leader, if he gets assassinated, who will come in? If a commander of a base in Isfahan is assassinated, who will take his place? So they prepared layers of defense, layers of succession, and diffuse decision making to the bases. That also seems to be a reason why there is some indiscriminate firing across from Iran into the GCC, because there is no central command to monitor them. Communications have been disrupted. So 8 days the Iranians have survived with from a position of immense weakness. The asymmetry between US-Israel conventional strength vis-a-vis Iranian conventional strength is substantial. There is no comparison. For a country to last out 10 days, we are now into the ninth day, is remarkable. At that kind of bombing, under punishing US sanctions for 40 years, which prevented them from arming themselves, they could not get anything. They reverse engineered missiles, they bought spares from black markets, whatnot, and they've survived. And their missiles have turned to be quite potent, demonstrated in two theaters, in Ukraine and now in West Asia. So that's one side. We have to keep that in mind. What are the second and third order effects? One, immediate economic. There is going to be huge shock waves of economy. Keep in mind, Hormuz is a very unique choke point. It's not like the Malacca Straits or the Red Sea or the Panama Canal. It's got only one ingress and egress. You enter the Hormuz Strait, there's only one way you have to get out. You want to get out, there's only one way you can leave. Damage to the Hormuz Strait or control of the Hormuz Strait has cut off global oil supplies. We are now breached three figures for crude. And it's not going to, there seems to be no ceiling as yet. If this continues, blockade continues, all the countries have declared force majeure. The Qataris have shut out LNG. We depend on Qatar for 20 to 30% of our LNG. We have about 2 weeks of stocks. We are okay on crude, but we have 2 weeks of stock of LNG. Who are the alternatives? Russia and the United States. The cost of cabotage from US is almost triple what we get from Qatar. Look at what it's going to do to our reserves. Every $10 hike in crude prices will have an exponential impact on our GDP forecasts. That's one side. Other, urea for fertilizer, DAP for fertilizer also comes from the Gulf. Unknown factor. We are now entering the harvest season. Where are all the fertilizers going to come from? So it's not just crude, it's gas, it's fertilizers. Insurance rates have gone through the roof. Lloyd's of UK has declared we can't insure. It's a war zone. We will not extend any more insurance to vessels. Vessels are all piled up outside. So we are looking at a reordered military side and a reordering of the financial economic side. We are somewhere sitting in a zone where countries like South Korea, Japan are outbidding the Europeans for gas. They are bidding more. They're saying we'll pay you $10 more, and the vessel is turning around and going off east. The Europeans are going to get happen. If that happens, will Russian crude and gas come back into the market? We have been buying Russian crude, irrespective of what the Americans say. We allowed India and all that's rubbish. Kepler data shows India's lowest point was only $1.2 million as in January. We have not stopped buying Russian oil. I mean, what can you do? You put 50% tariffs, we bone it. So we are looking at a serious reordering of the world, and we will have to, going forward, every capital will be assessing the downstream effects of what has been to be a very foolish war of choice. There was no need to go there. Iran was out of the radar. The Gulf countries were all doing well. All the economies were doing well. So I think these are some of the points I just wanted to raise and leave it with you all. Thank you, Dr. Bhatt.
Thank you very much. He had a special small room in his house where he used to meet all the officials when they knew where he was. And Israel never attacked the Jews on Saturday. So the Saturday attack was to enhance the war and drag the United States into this war. Irrespective, you may hear that this is American war on the American or the Israeli. We understand, and that's why Kushner and the son-in-law visit has been deferred to Tel Aviv because Netanyahu feeling the heat of the effect of this war on the American public opinion, and he wanted to drag on for some time till he bring the American to make them stay in the region. So these are the 2 points I wanted to issue. I would like everybody, please, to ask question, be brief in your questions, so we can take the maximum. The floor is open. Yes, Ambassador.
Thank you, Dr. Awad. Let me start by congratulating both the ambassadors. Reminds one of what Shakespeare said, brevity is the soul of wit. And I entirely agree with Ambassador Sachdev when he said that Trump will declare victory, likely to declare victory one of these days. But I have one or two questions. Ambassador Dharmendra mentioned that the Omani foreign minister was shocked. And you added what he told the Face the Nation. In fact, he made 4 points. Iran had agreed to zero enrichment, zero stockpiling, and to, transform the material they had into a state where it can't be used for weapons purposes. Down blending. It's a technical word which I find it difficult. Now, the last point they made, agreed to, was never ever they shall seek nuclear weapon. Now, this was briefed to Vice President Vance. Still, Israel attacked. So question is why? Now, I have a guess. Let me know whether it's correct or not. Well, it's not entirely a guess. I think Mossad had been monitoring the movements of the Ayatollah since November or even before that. And they found him in a position where he was surrounded by so many other senior aides. And the Israeli policy is that when there is such a high valued, target, well, you have to strike. It's in their eyes, it's a golden opportunity. There is no question. And that is corroborated by what Marco Rubio said. Israel was going to strike in any case with or without us. So it was Mossad's, locating the Ayatollah and the need which Israel felt, which I think it was. Now, just one point about the bases in the Gulf. First of all, have these foreign bases given any security to the GCC countries? Second point, these bases, as Dr. Awad knows, starts with the Iraq War, when the Central Command wanted a presence in Saudi Arabia. We all know that. Okay. Now, the last point is, my dear friend KP Nair said something about the embrace between Saddam Hussein and Aike Gujral. Since I had gone with him, let us make it very clear. You probably know, Dr. Awad, it's an Arab custom to embrace. And if Gujral had gone there as representing India and Saddam Hussein wanted to embrace him, he couldn't have said, hey, don't touch me. You are an invader. No, that is not the case. And second point, as regards our policy on the matter, the same day we came out with a declaration reiterating that this Kuwait sovereignty and territorial integrity should be restored without conditions. Only thing is that we did not condemn Saddam Hussein because we wanted to sort of settle the matter diplomatically. Thank you.
Oh, really, nothing I can add to what Ambassador Fabian said. I think you pointed it out well. Uh, the significance of Supreme Leader's death, Ali Khamenei's death, has to be understood on multiple levels. One, longest serving autocrat in the world, one of the longest. Never traveled out of the country. He's always been inside the country. So his exposure outside was quite limited. He got only second-hand news. He had a remarkable political skill of balancing multiple factions. In 89, when he was appointed from presidency to supreme leader, the expectation was he's a pushover. He has no base. He's a weak.
He himself said it.
Yeah, everyone thought he's a weak. He did not have sufficient clerical credentials. So he thought he was, but he did away with all the people who appointed him. And he survived. Now, the remarkable thing, what I want to underline is, he stuck to his fatwa on no nuclear weapons. Come whatever, IRGC pushed him, the Atomic Energy Organization pushed him. He never wavered from his no nuclear weapons. I think that guardrail is now weakened. Going forward, what can be retrieved or what not, I think we may see the beginnings of a change in security doctrines in the region. One country will start, it will have a cascading effect. We may not see it in the next 1 year, we may not see it in the next 2 years or so. Second, he was able to balance the factions such that the moderates, the hardliners, the radicals, the principalists, as they call them, the 1979 revolutionaries who want to go back to the fundamentals of the 1979 revolution of Imam Khomeini. Those factional balances again would have weakened. We may see more interfighting. The delay in announcement of Mojtaba Khamenei's appointment was also one of the factors. They said, no, we don't want Israel to assassinate him, blah, 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 blah. But also there was some pushback from moderate factions, which the IRGC fended off because IRGC and Khamenei are very close, Mojtaba Khamenei. So I think we see two dimensions to what you said, that, one, I feel we may see some change in security doctrines. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. It may not, I may not be right. And the other is, we may see more infighting within the various factions. Does Mujtaba have the capability? He's learned from his father. He was his gatekeeper for over 10 years. He used to manage his office, kept very much in the shadows. No one knows how he speaks. He's very few public appearances. How will he be taken? Now, do keep in mind, in the Shia world, there are two power centers. One is in Mashhad and one is in Najaf. So the Najaf clerics have always shied away from politics. They said, we have no right to be in politics. But the Mashhad clerics and Qom, now supported by Qom, and of course Tehran is the capital. There the clerics are much more pro-political involvement because of the concept of Velayat-e-Faqih, the rule of the Islamic jurisprudent. So I am the executive, I'm the president elected by people, but the supreme leader has got almost divine powers. He, without any responsibility, exercises complete authority, which Khamenei did remarkably. Will Mujtaba be able to do it? So we have entered a phase of a lot of fluid situations. One is, of course, the military side, which Iran may not last that long. Let's be clear, it cannot. It can inflict damage, but at some stage, there has to be found an exit. They have to find an honorable exit for the man in Washington, D.C. to find acceptable. So let's see how it goes.
I, my question is open. Anyone can answer it. Recently the Iranian deputy foreign minister was in India, and he said that uh, when the attacks happened, there were back channel talks going on between the GCC states and Iran. So I want to know if that played any role in, in the timing also of the attacks. And two is, what can, if any, can the GCC states play any role, in bringing at least in accelerating an end to the war, because they are being hit so hard. The brand has taken such a hit. So.
You are partly right. According to various media outlets, what precisely did the GCC countries recommended to Mr. Trump remains controverted. Jerusalem Post would like you to believe that MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, wanted America to attack Iran, while other more rational outlets have said that, in fact, 9 Arab heads of states wrote to President Trump, solidly arguing against waging a war on Iran because it will affect them. Iran's own contacts, you mentioned back channels, with Arabs on the GCC side, last month warned them through President Pezeshkian's talks with MBS, MBZ, and others that any attack on Iran would lead to a regional conflict. And they've been true to their word. Saudis apparently told them that if they are attacked, they reserve the right to retaliate. So beyond that, there's nothing in public domain about what transpired between Iran and the GCC capitals during the days running up to actual attack on 28th of April. My own guess is that GCC would not have liked instability in the area because they would have to eventually bear the costs. An enfeebled but stable Iran is the best possible course of action for them. This is what they would have liked to happen through negotiations. And on the other hand, the worst case scenario for them is fragmented Iran, something like Lebanon or Libya or Balkans, which would be perennial source of instability with various ethnic groups vying for influence in their own pockets. This would, to them, be beginning of fragmentation of the Arabian Peninsula itself, which has multiple tribes. Thank you.
Just, totally agree with what Ambassador Sachdeva said. I think he's captured it well. But unlikely to happen, Iran's fragmentation. It holds. There has been a lot of nationalistic fervor. There's obviously an anti-regime sentiment in the society. No doubt about it. There is, but that gap which was widening between the ruled and the rulers up until January, has narrowed. Otherwise, the regime was really unpopular. Now, even the fence sitters have come in favor of the regime. And I don't think the periphery is strong enough to pull apart the country. But as totally agree, unstable Iran, a fragmented Iran, a balkanized Iran will not be it will not be favorable for the region.
Thank you. So my question to both ambassadors, so sir, thank you. So looking at the current scenario of the war, so in your view, so what is likely to be the role of Russia and China in this game, and for how long Iran can survive uh, for 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, uh, this scenario, and what should be India's stance in this game? Thank you.
I'll answer this
Okay.
and then I'll take one
Okay.
more, or ambassador can take. Good question. Uh, there are there have been reports, obviously reports unconfirmed, but nevertheless reports. There's no smoke without fire, right? That there has been exchange of intelligence and information from China and Russia to Iran. Supplies have been restored by China, particularly materials needed for manufacture of missiles, solid fuel materials, ammonium perchlorate, or one of the chemicals. They've also received mapping of all the radar systems in the region, American radars, which are based in the various countries. So that enabled Iran to attack with precision on those things. Material support from Russia is limited for the simple reason that Russia is also preoccupied with what's happening in Iran. How long can Iran survive? They've done 10 days. We are entering the second week, right? They've survived so far. The asymmetry is immense. What has happened so far is also the Israeli-American joint targeting of Iranian launchers. You know, you have a missile, you need a launcher. So they've lost a majority of their launchers. After that, a rocket is just ordnance. You know, it's got no firepower once the launcher is gone. How long can they keep deploying their launchers and bring out some of their heavy missiles from their bunker cities, underground cities? Do keep in mind, American B-52 bombers also were in play, not just the B-2 stealth, even B-52s. They carry massive ordnance. They have destroyed some of their missile cities. So it's a matter of just an open-ended question, how long they can survive. I think India's taken a balanced view, as we always do. I mean, there is really, what more can we say? We'll tell them to stop fighting. Is someone going to listen to us? I think we have to secure our interests with equities. We have equities with multiple partners. So I think keeping all those in balance, we usually take prudent, nuanced decisions and not call for something which cannot be attained. So I think India is in a good spot. Deputy Foreign Minister Khatibzadeh was here in Delhi. Minister Jaishankar spoke to Abbas Araghchi's Iranian counterpart multiple times. So I think by and large, India's maintained a balance. Do keep in mind, we also hold the BRICS presidency this year, of which Iran is China. We are all members. So we'll have to see how we'll manage those discussions in BRICS, which will start once these conflicts are over.
Good evening, sir. Vinayak Dikshit from RT India. And my question is open to the panel. As it was rightly pointed out here that all of these attacks took place while negotiations were simultaneously going on. Now, considering that, how much of these events are directly or indirectly influenced by the United States' own domestic politics, considering the files in the country and the prevailing political situation over there?
A good question, but it's only a speculative answer is possible because though no direct link between Epstein file and what's going on Middle East can be established. But circumstantially, one would like to uh, believe that domestically, uh, one of the key challenges that President Trump has is his references in the Epstein file and his attempt not to testify, his attempt to keep it under wraps, uh, and partial disclosures in huge amount of the papers is partly to sort of camouflage the whole thing. Uh, he also has to fear the consequences of losses in the midterm election. Where he might lose majority in both houses. If that happens, he has himself publicly said that his impeachment is quite likely after the new uh, Congress meets following the general elections. Uh, this is a serious possibility. If it happens, Democrats are going to go for the kill. And let's see what happens then. But this would, till then, it will remain a matter of speculation. And Mr. Trump would like his best to conclude this war on a positive note for his MAGA base so that deterrents or defections from that base are avoided. And he is able to project, again, a positive image of successful leader, unprecedented president in America's 250 years of history, etc., etc. So let's see where it goes.
Final question. Anybody? Yes, please. Yes, Maya. Take the question. Because there we have to wrap up before our ambassadors leave.
Uh, the first question is was the US emboldened by its experience in Venezuela? Uh, didn't it anticipate Iran to be to retaliate the way it has? That's one. And the other one, hasn't the US ended up helping Russia?
Answer to both is yes. Good questions. Answer to both is yes. Helping Russia, I mean, of course, yeah, they expected a quick decapitation strike, like Venezuela, easy in, easy out, as they say. Russia is more complex because one, the Russian crude in the market will help keep global prices down and therefore price at the American bulk down, which is fundamental to the US. Second, how will the Europeans now react to the loss of the Gulf markets? So LNG will be a critical factor. China already pulls a lot of LNG gas from Russia via a pipeline. So yeah, Russia will be in play. And Trump, his actions over the last 1 year appear to be favoring Russia, particularly on Ukraine. So some of the statements he's made on Ukraine, some of the kind of, he said, I'm not going to give Ukraine any weapons. The Europeans will buy from the Americans and then sell it to the Ukrainians at a marked up price. So yeah, Russia is in a good place. And this, oil at three figures, upwards of oil at three figures, will boost Russian economy and reserves.
Thank you. Can I ask if we should give a comment? And then we finish.
Since we are nearing the end of this meeting, with the permission of Dr. Awad, I want to make a very brief housekeeping announcement, which is that our FCC governing committee member, Ainjit Sen, has been given the Achiever Award in the field of media and journalism by the UK government. And he received the award last week in the House of Lords. Congratulations, ING. And very briefly again, Thank you, Ambassador Fabian, for throwing light on the hugging incident from Ike Gujral's point of view. I'm very pleased you said it, because this hugging has been bothering me for 35 years. 35 years. But I want to say that our former Foreign Secretary, A.P. Venkateswaran, once told me that he went to Baghdad 3 times as the Prime Minister's special envoy. And Venkateswaran told me, each time I avoided touching that man, he said, Saddam Hussein, because his hands are dripping of blood. So I did not even shake his hand. Whenever I faced him, I did this, namaste. So 3 times I went as special envoy, I never touched the man, Venkateshwar said. That's
Sorry, can I ask our Ishani to put the vote of thanks, please?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia, it is my distinct honor to propose the vote of thanks for this evening, for this deeply insightful discussion. First and foremost, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speakers, Ambassador Sachdev and Ambassador Dharmendra. Your profound expertise and nuanced perspectives on the evolving landscape of West Asia have provided us the much needed clarity on the complex global issue. Thank you for sharing your time and wisdom with us today. I also thank Dr. Awad and Mr. Nair for convening this timely conversation. Finally, I thank you, our audience, both here in New Delhi and those joining us via live stream. Your engagement and thoughtful questions were what breathes life into these discussions. With that, I officially conclude today's session. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to having you next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We just have to thank our Ayanjit and congratulate him and give him the opportunity of presenting our memento to our chief guest. But we have been delayed in bringing it. So for this reason, you can wait for a minute before it comes. So we just present you a small memento. Meanwhile, you can join us for the refreshment outside as well. Thank you all for coming, and you can join us for more event. You can put your cards. Those who are not members, put it in the FCC. We invite you for other events in the club. Thank you very much. Thank you for making it.